readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome back to for the very first time to the channel. I am Will and this is my brother Ed, and today we are here to talk about our favourite fantasy reads, of the year so far. Yes, I'm excited to talk about these. We will seize any chance to talk about our favourite books, and today is the day that we can do that because we are halfway through the year of 2023, which feels quite crazy. Actually, we're more than that because we're about 10 days into July as we film this. But yeah, so we'll be talking about the books that we've read so far, and today will be part one where we talk about a 10th to 5th favourite because we've gone through the effort of ranking them as well, because I love a good list. And so, yeah, that's what we'll be doing. And Ed, anything to say before we kick off?
It's hard to rank them because you guys know the problem with trying to put a list with numbers on. But we've got that. And it probably will change tomorrow. But as these are the standings as of now, and we just love a list, don't we?
We love a good list.
We love a ranking. So, number 10 for me is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, which is book 3 of the Poppy War. This is the third book. Now, I've had my trials and tribulations with the Poppy War. I really enjoyed book 1. I really did not enjoy book 2. And book 3 was a happy medium, really, of enjoyment and payoff. And do
you enjoy it more or less than book 1?
Probably less. Some parts more, some parts less. It was long. It was a little bit too indulgent, I think, really, but at the end of the day it was also, in my opinion, a good book. It had a good strong ending. I really like the way that she took the ending. I couldn't really for the life of me see another way of ending it, really, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I like the characters. It's not really a book where you get behind the characters, you like them. But it is a book that explores many different areas of the human condition, really. And people put in all different scenarios. It is largely influenced by the history of the Opium Wars, which I found very interesting. And, you know, like a good historical fiction book, you want to find out more about that area. When you have a fantasy book that's inspired by a certain time period or that has happened, then you would like to go find out a bit more about it. So that is the success story of The Burning God for me, and I definitely enjoyed it. That was my 10th pick.
And I'll be talking about some R.F. Kuang in part 2 of this video.
Spoiler!
So, no, because it could be any of the 4 books she's written, or 5th now with Face, but that's not fantasy, is it? Anyway, my 10th favourite fantasy read of 2023 so far is Black Flame by Will White. This is an instalment in the Cradle series. How could I go so black? I thought I'd called it Cradle, and I was about to say in the Black Flame series. And
you were on the edge of too many seconds, frozen there. You'd have to edit that out. It's fine, it's fine.
It was really on the edge.
Yeah.
Because, we don't really have many breaks anymore, do we? Brilliant. It's going to be today, isn't it? But anyway, Black Flame, I really, really enjoy this. My favourite instalment of the series so far. I've read 6. It has been my goal to read 1 instalment a month, and then hopefully finish it by the end of the year because there's 12 instalments.
All you talk about lately is that I stick to my goals.
Well, no, singular.
Yeah,
singular. True. I have to brag about it when it's the only one I've kept to. So I have to shout loudly so then people think I'm actually keeping to my reading goals. It's the only one I've maintained, and I'm happy that I have. And Black Flame was great.
Very nice. The 9th one for me is Alexander Darwin's The Combat Codes. The publishers very kindly sent us a copy of this. There is a review of this out there, or possibly on its way.
Most probably out there.
We've recorded it. William is the Lord of Time in this house.
In other words,
in
editor.
This business partnership. So William is in charge of also the schedule. So anyway, The Combat Codes is my 9th favourite fantasy read of the year so far, because it definitely appealed to me due to the martial art focus of it, as well as these 2 central POVs that are vastly different from one another and a lot of fun to read. So you have this kind of unwilling teacher trope really that is used, and I don't use trope as a dirty word. I use it as a positive thing because Alexander Darwin has used it successfully. And also you then have the up-and-coming training pupil who is going through the motions of, well, a college essentially, really, isn't it? A training school.
It's a bit of an odd college.
It is an odd college, but I really, really enjoyed this book. I like how different the characters were and how their relationship was together. And I absolutely loved the martial arts focus, as I said earlier. It is a civilization. These are societies who solve their disputes through single-hand combat dueling. Essentially, one big MMA match decides the fate of countries, of large disputes, really. So imagine, Conor McGregor fighting Khabib for, who has that station over there, kind of thing. So imagine that
reputation.
So well. Khabib would have lots of stations. But anyway, the kebab codes, the combat codes was a great read, and I absolutely loved it. I think Alexander Darwin is a new, strong, fresh voice in the fantasy community, and I'm really looking forward to where he goes with book 2. Grivar's Blood, I believe, is coming out later.
It's a great name.
Yeah, and I'm now really hungry for a kebab.
The kebab guys would be a very different book.
Nickname,
but I would be happy to read it. Mm-hmm. I would pick that up. But my number 9.
What type of kebab though?
Doner.
You like lamb?
Oh no. Well, I can't eat lamb after we've had Edith. Wi-Fi Bane.
I still have a lamb.
Edith Wi-Fi Bane. Anyway, 9th favourite is Guards by none other than Terry Pratchett. This is the second Discworld book I've read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the characters such as Carrot and Nobby, who are just absolutely brilliant, and I love the mockery, the satirical nature, especially with the approach to fantasy tropes. There's a scene which, in particular, I'll mention where basically these people are saying, oh, well, if we create like a kind of a major threat, then obviously there'll have to be a prophecy and like a king will have to return. And they'll be like, where's a king going to come from? And they'll be like, there's probably like a baby we lost him like quite a few years ago. And then it jumps to a father saying, son, I'm not your father. We found you by the road on your own. The people you're with have been killed. And obviously he's the lost king kind of thing. And I love how it has it as the main plot, but it's mocking it at the same time. So it's kind of mocking what...
So it's tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, exactly. So much of what kind of traditional fantasy is, but in a very, very different way. And with a lot of humour thrown into the mix, where it is just... It's absurd, but not too much where it's stupid. Mm-hmm. There's stupid characters in it, but Nobby is probably my favourite. There's so many funny moments.
It's not infuriating.
Exactly.
Foolish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a good balance. And I loved Mort, and I probably preferred that bit over Guards. And that's probably sacrilege to a lot of Discworld lovers.
You just lost us a lot of subscribers.
I'm really sorry, but I'm here to be honest. And I still really enjoyed Guards. Hence why it's on the list.
Very nice. The number 8 for me was Kinslayer by Jay Kristoff. This is book 2 of the Lotus Wars, following on from the catastrophic end really of Storm Dancer. Now, Kinslayer has a lot going for it. It has really fast-paced, snappy, quippy prose from Jay Kristoff. He has a really eccentric writing voice that is always engaging, always fun, always seems to achieve what it sets out to do, whether it wants to make you laugh, you find yourself laughing alongside the characters, or makes you have an emotional moment really hit home that is equally as likely, or the action is on point, or the world building is impressive. Jay Kristoff just has a fantastic writer's voice. Now, in this book, you have a steampunk meets samurai inspired world, which is a lot of fun. You have a coming of age heroine, you have animal companions, you have fantastic action, you've got multi POVs, you've got plot twists and betrayals, you've got a whole assortment of characters, and I really have been enjoying it so far. I'm looking forward to reading book 3 a little bit later on this year, but book 2 was fantastic to go by, it had these gut punching character moments, and I just cannot wait to see where that leads them.
Very nice.
Sad,
it sounds like that, the way that you've put it across.
But we will see.
You're looking forward to where to leave them.
Yeah.
But at least it'd be bittersweet. It always is when you finish a series.
Exactly, it's just so much fun to read in this world that Jay Kristoff has created.
Very nice. And next up, I have my number 8 is The Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan, book 2 of the Empire of the Wolf series, and so this came out in 2023.
Why do you not use like squirrels more or something, or ferrets?
Well,
or otters.
Would you rather be chased by a squirrel or a wolf?
A squirrel.
Exactly.
So Empire of the Squirrel.
Yeah, well, it's not as fierce.
Yeah, but would you rather live in an Empire of the Squirrel or the Empire of the Wolf?
I'd rather live in the Empire of the Squirrel. But I'd rather probably read about the Empire. You know, Empire of the Squirrel. It sounds like something like Travis Baldry would write or something, doesn't it? But anyway,
you get to hide your nuts.
This is not. That's one bonus then. Just any other themes?
I'll stop
countries.
There. I'll stop there.
Things like that. But The Tyranny of Faith, so this is a book that we have reviewed on the channel, and yeah, it's a very dark tone. I love how it takes what I really enjoyed about the Justice of Kings with kind of the character dynamics and kind of the mystery at the core. But here we evolve to go into the centre of the Empire of the Vampire, the Sovan Empire. So we go to the capital, and I really love that change of setting. Introduces some flair, some kind of a spice, and kind of a scattering,
like Chrissy Banks,
a scattering of kind of really interesting elements, accompanied by what I really enjoyed in book one that kept it fresh. And so yeah, Tyranny of Faith. Really looking forward to reading the third and final instalment of this series, most likely next year.
Well, that's when it comes out, so hopefully.
Well, as in, I'm saying most likely it will actually come out then.
Yeah. And the next one for me is, I believe, number 7, which is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. Now here we have every book geek really, their dream that you are locked inside a library, a fantastical library. So there immediately,
be careful what you wish for.
There immediately, the story has hooked me. It hooked me straight away. Mark Lawrence has a yet again another fantastic writing voice, something very different to many other authors. And I think this writing was some of his best to date, because it just felt snappy, it felt purposeful, it felt very direct, and it felt like Mark Lawrence everything just came together. The stars aligned for this book to come out. Would have been better if I was reviewing was it The Girl of the Star?
The Girl on the Moon, The Girl on the Stars.
The Girl on the Stars. It would have been better if I said that in that review, but I haven't read it yet, so I can't review it yet, can I? So anyway, but yeah, I really enjoyed The Book That Wouldn't Burn. It is my 7th favourite for a reason. It's got fantastic POVs, it's got great characters. Again, it's got these plot twists and a very complex plot that suggests that Mark Lawrence really was a rocket scientist. The fact that he was able to come up with something, a web that weaves so extraordinarily complex that it was quite hard to work out at times, but when you finally got to grips with it, it felt very satisfying. The action moments were great. The world building was my favourite aspect of this book, which usually isn't really what I'm looking for, but Mark Lawrence has created a world here that is addictive to read, and I cannot wait for book 2 next year, fingers crossed.
It has Piranesi vibes.
Lots of new books.
Piranesi
vibes. That is good, or so I hear.
You need to read it. It should be high on your list. Next up in my number 7 spot, I have Sandman Book 1, which I believe is just the first 3 volumes, and this was kindly gifted to me.
Nice.
It is colour, yeah.
Very nice.
As a present by my very good friend Matt.
That is a weird picture.
It is a weird picture, but it was an absolutely awesome first 3 volumes. I committed sacrilege and watched the adaptation first, series 1. Absolutely loved it. Thought it was brilliant. I love how they really are quite random stories, but they all link together. And yeah, so these first 3 volumes I thought were really enjoyable. I really love the theme, kind of the character development of Morpheus and the characters surrounding him, and we don't just get told everything right away, like the family dynamics and kind of how this world operates, as Morpheus is kind of the god of dreams. But I really enjoyed slowly but surely finding out bits of information, and there are fantastic sequences, such as when Morpheus goes to hell. That was very interesting, and the adaptation is very true to this, but somehow this is even weirder and even crazier. And I love seeing Neil Gaiman's creativity just on a full display, kind of no leashes. It was just let loose, and it is weird at times, but it was fantastic. Like, there is a convention for murderers, which he somehow makes it into really, 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 really dark humour. But yeah, really done brilliantly, and I loved it.
Yeah, good British humour from Neil Gaiman, as always. The Justice of Kings was my 6th favourite fantasy read of the year so far. This is book 1 of the Empire of the Squirrel trilogy. I'm going to keep saying that now. And yeah, why did I prefer this over Tyranny of Faith? I think maybe because it came unexpectedly really into my life, and it shocked me. I didn't know what to expect, and there were some fantastic parts here that reading in Tyranny of Faith that I kind of expected in that book, so obviously Richard Swan has some continuity really, and where the more you read in this universe, the more you kind of have a feel for what he's going to do next. And in Tyranny of Faith, that stuff, he used that stuff brilliantly, but I think in Justice of Kings, because it came a bit of out from outfield, I really enjoyed that I didn't expect something to happen, so that was really cool, especially these kind of necromancy elements. That is my main take from this book that I absolutely loved. For a different type of fantasy that I haven't read too much, and I think it was done fantastically here. Richard Swan has a great writing voice. He has really good dialogue that tells the story rather than having to focus on exposition. You are focusing on a character who is not quite an underling, but essentially a clerk really to a barrister, but imagined in a fantastical world, the barrister does very different things.
And it's not just barrister, it's judge, jury, and executioner. All in one.
Exactly. Exhibit Hay. And no man is above the law, as it says on the back. And that is indeed very true. And I really like how the plot ties together in book 1. And you are focused on this kind of small village really setting, aren't you? And then book 2 expands it, and you really start to see that this really is an empire. And I really enjoyed that aspect of book 1, that you're focusing one small area to help you acclimatise to the world, the characters, the world building. And yeah, the dialogue was top notch, and the action was used perfectly. Richard Swan always writes a cracker of an ending.
And I love how it presents the question of, is the law the same as justice? That's fine. And it comes into the title, The Justice of Kings. And really interesting question. I love how that's kind of debated with. And Richard Swan was a lawyer himself, so he's obviously bringing some of that own
He didn't practice necromancy.
He didn't execute anyone.
As far as we are aware.
Yeah. Maybe.
Number
6 then for me is The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I'm just going to be regurgitating what Ed said, basically.
Classic Will.
Classic me. But it is high up on my list, so I have that benefit at least.
What, regurgitating me?
Yeah, probably.
Nice.
But The Book That Wouldn't Burn is my 8th or 9th book that I've read, or maybe even 10th, by Mark Lawrence.
Could it be 11th?
It can't be 11th. Just to be that awkward one. But yeah, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, really enjoyed it. I love how we're thrown into a very different setting from what Mark Lawrence has explored before. We've kind of got this wasteland, and we've got these kind of warring sides who some aren't human, I'll just say that, so there's no spoilers really there, and the others are human. There's kind of this city which is kind of a haven for those who are trying to survive, and kind of that's one of the major players of the setting. And then with another perspective, we've kind of got this locked library, and it's really interesting trying to put the puzzle pieces together to see the links between these perspectives and how they're going to come together. And also there's some great animals, or they're not necessarily animals, but they may be machines but in animal shapes, and I love how they come into play as well. Bring some humour.
Just all the animals, basically.
All the animals. It brings some humour to the tale as well, but it's a very kind of dark tone, that kind of an undercurrent that continues throughout this. So even in the lighter scenes, you feel this kind of suspense and feeling of dread, which is great. Nice. And even though it's quite a chunky book, where Mark Lawrence usually does a bit of a shorter book, it was still very easy to blitz through. And yeah, it's quite easy to read, quite fluid. And whilst there are complicated elements throughout, I think it's meant to be like that. You're not meant to understand everything, and it's not science either. So you don't need to be understanding and writing down the formulas to remember later. So yeah, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, everybody.
It could help.
And it could help, but probably not. And but this is something that we both loved then. And Ed, on to the final book that you're talking about today. The final book
for this video, my 5th favourite book of the year, 5th favourite fantasy book of the year, was Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. Have you got Sons of Darkness down there that you could pass to me?
Here's the thing, Ed.
Cough it up.
Let's just talk about it together, because it's my 5th favourite as well.
Wow, we haven't been through it.
For consistency, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, Sons of Darkness for me was a book that felt very fresh. It comes with a very different voice and a different focus on what lots of fantasy books I've read this year are, and it has this inspiration from the Mahabharata, which is I think the longest epic poem, and it is of Indian origin. So it's very different to that typical medieval Europe setting that many fantasy books are in, and that is a huge strength of this book, because it comes along with that. Gaurav really dives headfirst into just this completely new world, and it is so colourful, so vibrant, and it is equally as bloody as it is beautiful. And I think we have 6 POVs here. Essentially, only one of them is really good, and the rest are very just straight out of the first law, and I absolutely love that. There's a sense of humour to Gaurav Mohanty's writing, and he really does land with his jokes, with his wit, with the dry humour, and I really, really appreciated that. Because, epic fantasy, I think the thing we notice within, in realism, people laugh about a lot of stuff. Even when they're going through the worst time, they cover it up with laughter.
Defense mechanism.
It is a defense mechanism. And also, people are always looking for laughter. And I think this book, is something that it absolutely nails. It gets that humour spot on.
And a lot of the characters, they're not laughing.
No, exactly. It's a bit like, the first law. The characters are never laughing, but the reader, you feel a little bit bad for laughing. But yeah, I just love the inspirations behind this. And I really love picking Gaurav's brains when we interviewed him last week, which was when we did it. It was a lot of fun, and Sons of Darkness, my 5th favourite fantasy read of the year so far. And I really also enjoyed the humour. It's quite satirical, so it's not kind of jokes here, there and everywhere. It's kind of mocking the political system in position at the Republic, as it's called, and things like that I found quite funny. But then you feel bad for laughing, because the decisions these people are making for their own self-preservation are going to negatively impact thousands upon thousands. And also, this is very epic. We have kind of warrior groups, we have those training assassins, all these different elements all coming together. All from different pasts, different backgrounds, very Game of Thrones.
That's what I was going to say. What I really enjoyed is also that the characters are from a whole range of backgrounds, where they are not just the nobility, which is kind of the one drawback, I'd say, for Game of Thrones, is there's not a huge range in their backgrounds, because other than Sir Davos, and he's been made a noble, all the others are from
top of their house,
nobility. Really. And so they're already in positions of power. But I love to hear that we have those who are kind of they're forced unwillingly into different events, and they don't have much control. But at times, when they have that bit of influence, what will they do with it? And so it's very interesting to look at it from that perspective. And a very fluid read, another chonker of the book that could hold open the door or act as a weapon, but very fluid and quite easy to read through as well. You could definitely blitz your way through Sons of Darkness. And another recent release. I think this is the most 2023 year releases I've loved halfway through the year. Ever.
Yeah, we've read quite a few new releases, haven't we? And still more on our list. More and more to
There's
read.
Always more. But everyone, thank you so much for watching this part 1, this 10 to 5 of our favourite fantasy reads of 2023 so far. Let us know if you've read any of these, if any of them are on your list, and let us know what some of your favourite fantasy reads of the year so far are. We'd love to hear about it, and we will have the latter half of this video coming out soon. But for now, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Truth and courage.
Truth and courage. Stay safe. The Brothers Gwyn.
The Brothers Gwyn.